my mother's cornfield in Shikoku, where she spent countless days under the burning sun and freezing winds, where every seed held her hope, now lies trampled beneath the hooves of wild boars. Everything she built with sweat and tears has become a battlefield of broken stalks and shattered dreams. That's why we set out, not for glory, but to protect what is most precious to us. But will we return safely after facing these fierce beasts? The answer lies just ahead. After a thorough plan, we marked the mountain overlooking the cornfield, the place where these wild boars often roam. We studied the wind, escape paths, and locations perfect for an ambush. We geared up in camouflage clothing, tightened our rugged boots, checked our radios and rifles, and secured GPS collars around the necks of our trained hunting dogs. 30 minutes later, the dogs' urgent barks echoed through the bamboo forest. The GPS tracker confirmed they had cornered something deep inside a dense bamboo thicket. I approached from the upwind side, keeping myself hidden behind thick bamboo stalks. My heartbeat echoed like thunder in my chest. Every step was as careful and silent as a stalking cat. I lifted my rifle, aimed at the shadow moving through the leaves, and pulled the trigger. Boom! The boar was hit, but it bolted deeper into the forest. I sprinted after it with the dogs. Finally, exhausted and unable to continue, it collapsed. I stepped forward and delivered one final, merciful shot. This is a hunter's life, where courage and calm mean survival, and the line between hunter and hunted is razor thin. Next, we moved to a narrow trail between two forest patches, a natural bottleneck. If the boars tried to escape, they would pass through here. Waiting in silence was the hardest part. Then suddenly, the dogs barked closer and closer, driving the target straight towards me. A massive dark figure dashed across the trail like a bolt of lightning. I fired repeatedly, but its incredible speed helped it disappear into the shadows of the opposite forest. Failure didn't crush our spirit. Over the radio, I ordered, "Release the hunting dogs." I watched the GPS screen as the dogs' signals moved in pursuit. Analyzing terrain and movement, I found the perfect interception point. Heart pounding like war drums, I ran. I reached the spot, raised my rifle, and aimed steadily. This time, the boar had no chance. It burst into view, and my bullet struck true. The hunt pressed further into the deep forest. Guided by the dog's signals, I found cover behind a large tree. Leaves rustled, the dog's barks grew nearer. I waited, finger on the trigger. The boar broke through the brush. I fired. Startled, it turned wildly and tried to escape, but the dogs were relentless, snapping at its heels. Tracking the GPS, I followed them until I saw it, cornered, exhausted. I stepped forward calmly, aimed, and ended the chase. But the forest wasn't done testing us. In a rugged, rocky slope, the dogs flushed out another boar. Suddenly, a dark head emerged from the bushes just meters away. Without hesitation, I steadied my breath and fired. The beast fell instantly. It was pure instinct, reflex shaped through countless hours of training. As the sun dipped behind the mountains, we thought the day had ended. But the dogs were not finished. They had tracked one last boar. I shouted for them to pull back. The moment it stepped into view, I fired the final shot. Sharp, unwavering. The forest fell silent. We loaded the trophies into the back of our Jeep Gladiator, the sky glowing in shades of orange and gold. This work demands iron nerves and a brave heart. Every hunt is a dance with danger. But to protect our village and my mother's cornfield, every sacrifice, every cold night, every aching step, is worth it. Shikoku Ground Hunt with Dogs / Every year, millions of wild boars tear across farmlands, destroy crops, and threaten natural ecosystems across the American plains. But unlike traditional hunters who move silently through the woods, my team has taken to the skies. We hunt wild boars from helicopters. From above, every trail is visible, every movement exposed. What begins as a hunt soon turns into a thrilling battle of strategy and precision. This is not just a chase. This is a war of skill, courage, and control. At exactly 4 p.m., under the burning sun, our helicopter roared to life and lifted off the ground. The blades sliced through the air like a spinning storm. Below us, the world lay open, no shadows deep enough, no brush thick enough to hide the enemy. The moment wild boars sensed the helicopter's presence, panic erupted. They scattered across the fields, desperate to escape. The pilot descended sharply, the target now perfectly aligned within range. My team steadied their rifles. Fingers tightened on triggers. Thunder cracked through the sky as bullets rained down. The first boar collapsed on the dry grasslands. A clean and flawless start to the mission. We kept circling the endless plains. Every turn of the helicopter meant a new angle, a new opportunity. When the aircraft tilted, my body fought against gravity. I focused, forced my breath steady, and fired. The bullet streaked through the wind and struck the fleeing boar with perfect accuracy. Yet, more shadows bolted into the forest. I signaled the pilot, "No one escapes today." Aiming from a helicopter is the ultimate test of marksmanship. The wind, the vibration, the speed, they all conspire to throw you off. But a true shooter turns chaos into focus. I adjusted my stance, waited for the perfect moment, and squeezed the trigger again. The heavy beast tumbled to the ground. Another clean strike, earned through countless hunts where success and failure are separated only by a heartbeat. Then the forest below erupted. A massive herd of wild boars burst out, shaking the trees as they ran. Without hesitation, we flew straight into the storm. The chase intensified. These were no ordinary targets, they were relentless, unpredictable, constantly shifting direction. Yet the pilot and I had fought this battle many times. With seamless timing, he maneuvered the aircraft while I tracked each target and unleashed precision fire. One by one, they fell. But the hunt wasn't over. We swept over another area, flying barely above the treetops. Below, the herd had broken apart. No formation, no plan, pure terror. They scattered in every direction like dark waves crashing against the forest. I steadied my rifle once more. Each shot echoed through the sky like a declaration of dominance. One after another, the boars collapsed, ending their violent trail of destruction. Still, we didn't stop. We pursued the stragglers through dry grass, rocky slopes, and dense shrubs. Every hunter on the team pushed forward with the same determination. Because we knew, this wasn't just hunting. This was protection. This was control, sky above, earth below, and us between them, standing against chaos. By the end, the engines hummed steadily as we hovered in silence over the plains. The sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky gold and crimson. Our mission was nearly complete. Boars that once ravaged fields now lay still. The land breathed easier. This was more than a hunt. It was a message. We do not run from the storm. We ride above it. American helicopter hunt. I grew up on the wide open fields of Texas, where the land stretches farther than the eye can see, and where wild boars have become the deadliest enemy of every farmer. They don't just eat crops. They tear up fields, uproot fences, destroy irrigation, and leave nothing but chaos in their path. That's why I carry a rifle and head into the woods. Not for sport, but because protecting this land means defending every acre with my own hands. When you're a farmer, you understand the value of every patch of soil. You plant it, water it, watch it grow, and you'll do whatever it takes to shield it from destruction. At first light, we began our hunt along the wooded edge of the pasture, the exact place where boars usually sneak out to raid the crops. We had only gone a short distance when the silence broke. A wild boar exploded out of the tree line, massive, fast, and heading straight into my sights. Instinct kicked in. I raised my rifle, fired, and the shot cracked through the calm morning air. One clean hit. The boar dropped instantly onto the frosted grass. Merrick was right behind me. He isn't just any hunter. Last season, he brought down 9 wild boars in a single morning. Precise. Calm. Always in control. This time was no different. A boar wandered too close, and within seconds, it was over. "Easy work," he muttered, lowering his rifle with a grin. That's the voice of a man who has faced hundreds of charging beasts and never blinked. Our tactic is simple: keep moving. Stay in one spot for too long, and the wind carries your scent. Once boars catch it, they won't come near for hours. Merrick led the way, but suddenly stopped between 2 thick brush piles. He raised his fist, the signal. We froze, silently spreading out. Less than 2 minutes passed when gunfire erupted around us. Several dark figures collapsed mid-run, caught in our ambush. Then, silence. The forest calmed, but tension hung in the air. The remaining boars had vanished deeper into the shadows. It took over 30 minutes before I saw movement again. But patience paid off. A new group crept out quietly, unaware they had walked right into our crosshairs. From a high hunting blind, Buster peered through his scope, lined up the last one in the line, the least alert, and squeezed the trigger. One perfect shot. The boar crumpled without a sound. Merrick signaled to move. Buster and I sprinted toward the ridge, rifles ready. Then we heard it, rustling leaves, snapping branches. Not 1. Not 10. Nearly 20 wild boars were charging straight toward us. My pulse roared in my ears. No time to think. Aim. Breathe. Fire. One of them collapsed just a few feet in front of me, sliding into the dirt. Chaos filled the forest, but it was the kind of chaos we were built for. Moments later, Merrick pointed toward another ridge. Buster steadied his aim on a lone boar weaving between trees. It was fast, but his eyes stayed locked. One sharp crack echoed. The boar stumbled and fell into the dry leaves. It never stood a chance. By sunset, the hunt was over. A full day of adrenaline, danger, freezing wind, and heart-pounding moments. But that's life out here in the backwoods, brutal, raw, and not meant for the faint-hearted. That wraps up today's hunt. If this adventure got your blood pumping, let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more wild journeys. Until next time, stay sharp, stay safe, and protect what matters most. Ground Hunt with Team. Beneath the grey Texas sky, the air was thick with tension as we moved across rugged ground soaked in mud and danger. This land, scarred by the relentless destruction of wild boars, had become their refuge. Dense forests, murky swamps, and shadowed thickets now served as their stronghold. But today, we weren't standing guard from afar. Today, we stepped straight into their world. No hesitation. No retreat. Only the mission, to confront the savage horde head-on and reclaim this land for the farmers who depend on it. Our boots sank into wet soil as we advanced through the swamp, rifles steady, senses sharpened. This was the first battleground of the day. In the hush of the marsh, Nick suddenly froze. His eyes locked on a herd of wild boars quietly foraging beneath the dripping trees. Without wasting a heartbeat, he steadied his aim. One deep breath. One trigger pull. The gunshot tore through the silence, echoing across the swamp. Panic erupted as the herd scattered in all directions, leaving behind a heavy boar collapsed on the leaf-covered ground. A clean, precise kill, an explosive start to the hunt. Moments later, at a clearing near the edge of the bog, a lone boar wandered unknowingly into the open. John raised his rifle, his hands steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. In one swift motion, he adjusted his sights and pulled the trigger. The shot landed perfectly. The beast fell on the spot, motionless. Its threat ended in an instant. Another life taken, not out of sport, but necessity. Another step toward protecting the crops and the families who depend on them. Pushing deeper into the eastern swampland, John once again found himself face to face with a wild boar, unaware of the hunter stalking it. He found cover, calculated the angle, and fired. The boar crumpled instantly. No struggle. No sound. In that same moment, gunfire erupted in the distance from other ambush teams, each shot signaling success. For now, the fields and farms beyond these woods would remain safe. Farther ahead, another team rolled into position inside their familiar hunting vehicle. Branches scratched the metal frame as they halted in thick underbrush, quickly spreading to their designated posts. Just minutes later, a massive boar stepped into Lion's crosshairs. He waited, breathing slowly as the world fell into silence around him. Then, crack. The gunshot broke the stillness, and the boar dropped where it stood. A flawless shot. Another victory for the team. Meanwhile, hidden deeper within the forest, a marksman aimed silently from cover as a herd of boars wandered into his line of fire. In rapid succession, he fired multiple shots. 2 boars collapsed instantly, while the leader bolted back into the trees, vanishing into the shadows. The applause from fellow hunters echoed through headsets, another successful strike. Then, from outside the forest, the sharp barking of hounds broke the peaceful hush. The ground trembled as a colossal boar burst from the undergrowth, trying to flee. Without hesitation, hunters stationed nearby unleashed a storm of bullets, cutting off its escape. To ensure it posed no further danger, one hunter approached carefully, delivered a final shot, and the beast fell completely still. This precise takedown served as yet another reminder: these animals are fierce, cunning, and never to be underestimated. With the area secured, silence slowly returned to the swamp. Smoke drifted from rifle barrels. Dogs calmed. The hunters stood in the aftermath, breathing heavily but satisfied. Another corner of Texas was safe. Another piece of land reclaimed from destruction, at least for today. Texas swamp and forest hunt. Across the vast swamps and dark forests, the war against destructive wild boars continues, this time in the rugged lands stretching between Texas and the frozen edges of Russia. These beasts, armed with sharp tusks and relentless strength, have torn through farmlands, trampled fields, and invaded forests. But standing in their way are the steel-hearted hunters, marksmen who know that every bullet, every breath, every decision could determine survival. What you're about to witness is not just a hunt, it is a battlefield where instincts clash with precision. Stay with us until the end, because the most intense moments are still to come. The ambush in the Chelyabinsk forest marked the opening strike of this dangerous mission. John's team moved in silence inside their well-worn vehicle, tires crunching softly over the frosty earth. According to the carefully laid plan, they spread out into the shadows of the towering trees. Minutes passed. The wind stirred, leaves trembled, and then, movement. Through John's scope, a dark figure emerged between the trees. He lowered his breathing, tightened his grip, and waited for the perfect second. The crack of his rifle tore through the silence. The wild boar dropped instantly, its escape cut off before it could even begin. That single shot marked the beginning of the hunt. Gunfire soon echoed across the forest from other ambush points, each report a sign that more targets were being struck down. Not far away, James lay hidden in thick undergrowth, motionless, eyes fixed on the path ahead. His patience was rewarded when a line of wild boars suddenly burst from the woods, charging across his sights. He fired rapidly, and the lead boar collapsed mid-stride, but the survivors scattered, disappearing deep into the trees. Wasting no time, James radioed the direction of their escape. The team responded immediately, moving swiftly through the woods toward the reported position. Soon, one of the hunters spotted a heavy boar concealed among the dense trunks. Without hesitation, his rifle thundered, and the beast dropped to the snowy ground. Gunfire erupted from all sides. The forest was alive with echoes of battle, and one by one, the remaining boars were taken down. But the deeper the hunters moved, the harsher the land became. As they approached the snow-covered region of Cougar, the cold bit through their clothing, and the ground grew harder with ice. Hunting in Chelyabinsk's forests was a challenge, but here in Cougar, it became a test of survival. Still, Thomas's team pressed forward, spreading out across the white fields and frozen trees, their breath turning to mist in the frigid air. They knew one mistake could be deadly. At Leon's position, silence froze in place, until a massive boar burst from the trees, charging straight across the snow. He didn't flinch. A single controlled shot echoed, and the boar collapsed, sliding into the frost. But before the satisfaction could settle, more shadows streaked past, quick, silent, gone before a second shot could be taken. The beasts had escaped into the deeper woods. Without hesitation, Thomas activated the tracking device, following the trail of broken branches and fresh prints in the snow. The signal pulsed. The hunt was still on. Minutes later, nestled within a thicket of frozen branches, another boar was found hiding, its dark coat blending with the shadows. Thomas crept closer, raised his rifle, and with one decisive pull of the trigger, ended the chase. The shot echoed through the cold air, marking another victory on the icy grounds of Cougar. Another life taken, another field protected, another reminder of why this hunt is necessary. In these forests and swamps, it isn't just about skill. It's about endurance, discipline, and the will to face a relentless enemy.